Many in the media seem to be enjoying this crisis, and they are. It's been a great opportunity to talk at great length about their all-time favorite subject, which is themselves, and how much more impressive they are than you. Here's that weird little guy on CNN.
It wasn't until this Friday night that I hit a wall. And that's when the tears came. So we have nothing to compare this with. So it can be incredibly alarming. It can be incredibly depressing. Media can help. Making media can help. But the emotions are real for everybody. They're a big part of the story.
Oh, barf. This is a guy who got a special exemption to the government quarantines he so fervently supports for other people. All of us in the media got that exemption, by the way. This is a guy who's working in a high-paying job when tens of millions of Americans are not working at all. Please be quiet. Your tears are not, quote, a big part of the story, and neither are you. For God's sakes, please stop talking about yourself. It is insufferable. But they can't stop. The most consistent byproduct of privilege, always and everywhere, is narcissism. So it's not surprising that our pampered overlords just cannot shut up about themselves. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't make sense as a person until you learn that she grew up as Sandy Ocasio in an affluent suburb of Westchester and then went on to get some silly, pointless degree at a silly, pointless private college. Of course she did. It's so obvious once you know it. Thank you, Wikipedia. She is a child of privilege. She's not some kid from the streets. Someone who actually grew up in the Bronx would be far too embarrassed to drone on about herself on Instagram. Please. Suddenly, people like Sandy Ocasio seem to have a lot more power than they did before this pandemic arrived from China. That's at least as scary as the virus itself, and its effects will last much, much longer. You have a right to lawfully push back against that, and you should. We're joined now by Fox's senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, thanks so much for coming on. So when politicians start arresting people who disagree with them and the media applaud, what sort of moment is that?
It's a very depressing and fearful moment, Tucker. The media could not exist in this country without the First Amendment, and they are applauding its being used, it's being crushed because they disagree with the message of those who are being crushed. I mean, stated differently, the Constitution applies in good times and in bad. There is no pandemic exception to the Constitution. There's no emergency provision or trigger in the Constitution. The rights articulated in the Constitution are guaranteed. So the rights of everyone listening to us now to tell the government to go to hell is an absolute, personal, fundamental liberty that the government cannot punish you for exercising. And your right peaceably to gather with others to deliver the same type of message is similarly guaranteed. But those who run the government, every one of whom has taken the same oath that I once took when I became a judge, that everybody who works for the government, from the president to a school board janitor, from a governor to every cop on the street, and that oath is to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, which includes all the amendments, the first 10 of which are the Bill of Rights. You, my dear friend, burst this bubble last week when you asked the governor of my home state, Governor Phil Murphy, did you consider that you might be nullifying the Bill of Rights? And he responded, I'm paraphrasing, the Bill of Rights, that's above my pay grade. Now, he either thought that was funny or he was being serious. It absolutely wasn't funny. It was deplorable. And if he meant it, he has no business being the governor of a state because he's violating the oath that he took when he became governor.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I know people are afraid, and I understand that people want to do their best to help, and I think that's a noble instinct. But it's getting scary. And I appreciate your judge pointing that out very much. Good to see you tonight.
All the best.